The Pitch Bible is still the main tool that people in animation use to try to sell their projects around. Now, in 2018, I actually made an entire breakdown of what's in a Pitch Bible, but a lot has changed. It's 2025, and I'm here to tell you what's the latest in Pitch Bibles. Hey there, welcome back to Surviving Animation, your guide to making it in the business of cartoons. My name is Eric Calderon. Today we're talking about what is in the 2025 Pitch Bible, but before I continue, I would like to thank today's sponsor. Essist is a professional accelerator designed to help individuals achieve their goals through flexible, hands-on learning. It offers various educational resources, including pre-recorded content from experienced instructors, interactive live stream courses, and personalized one-on-one sessions. Essist aims to make quality education accessible to everyone, regardless of their background or experience, providing the support and tools needed to succeed. With a focus on practical application and mentorship, Essist strives to build a thriving community where successful learners return to guide and inspire others. Now, I'm promoting this platform because I'm actually going to be a professor on that platform. So I'll be coming out with a series called What It Takes to Be a Producer. The first episode will be free here on Surviving Animation, with the rest under the paywall of their platform. So look forward to that. It's coming soon. All right, let's get right back into what is in the Pitch Bible for 2025. So before I go too much further, you might be asking yourself, hey, isn't it still kind of bleak out there? Should I still be pitching and presenting ideas? Well, to that, I give you this little clip.
Hey, is it worth it? Oh yeah, it's worth it. If you're strong enough.
So yes, if you are strong enough, you should still do it. People are still making cartoons out there. Even though some of the headlines are pretty bad, I think there's still pipelines to fill, and a great show and a great concept, I still believe in my heart, will find a home. Okay, before I go into what's in the latest version of a 2025 Pitch Bible, I want to make a little clarification of what is a Pitch Bible versus what is a show Bible and then a franchise Bible. In short, a Pitch Bible is really the tool that you use to sell your project to people who have never seen it before or know nothing about it. A show Bible, on the other hand, is really an internal tool. It's a resource, I think, that all the stakeholders who are creatively or financially involved in your project need to look at to understand, what is this whole thing about? What does it mean? What is the themes? How many episodes are there? What do the characters look like? What's the status of the episode synopsis? Are there any finished scripts? What's the background design? What's been finished? All that stuff. Really, again, a show Bible is really the internal tool. I think it should be constantly updated, and I think it's really what is used to make everyone on your team keep in full alignment to what your whole project is about. On the tail end, a franchise Bible, if you're lucky enough to get there, is really a tool used for licensees. Now, a franchise Bible is going to be something like, here are the completed amount of episodes that have been done, here is the place that it's broadcast, here's the ownership of the franchise and the brand, here are the licenses available, and here's a way that you as a licensee can get involved in the project. So, what is the exact font that has to be used? What are the approved Pantone colors of the main characters? What are some marketing angles and shots that we can use in our promotional copy on the back of a toy box? All that kind of stuff. It's really the rules of the franchise. It's used for licensees. And hey, we all hope we're lucky enough to have to make one. All right, let's talk more specifically about the Pitch Bible in 2025. I think the way they have to start this year is really talking about, how big is your current business or franchise? Okay, that might be a little disheartening to hear, that I need to start my pitch with how big is my business, because I'm looking to pitch to start a business. But the truth is, really what most buyers and financiers and investors are looking for right now are small businesses to accelerate, or existing audiences that they can count on if they take your proposal to a larger platform. So for the most of us, that means YouTube. So when you're presenting your YouTube numbers or the size of your audience across all social media, there are a couple things to really keep in mind for this presentation. First is going to be your subscribers, followed by your views, and then really the virality and the fandom around the entire ecosystem of those audiences. Now, what's really important about your subscribers and your views is not only how many of them, it's where are they located. So if you have a platform, let's say on YouTube, that has 1 million subscribers, and a couple 100 million views, but they're all in areas like Southeast Asia or India or Russia, that might not be very relevant to a buyer who's in North America, who's looking to capitalize on audience that exists in North America. In addition, I will say that it's not really the total massive size of these subscribers and views that count necessarily. Now, I may be wrong in assuming this, but I believe if you have a smaller audience, but they are extreme fans, they buy anything that you create, they comment on every video you make, I think buyers want to see that you have a loyal fan base more than a broad, disengaged, or purchased fan base. Okay, just in case your franchise or business is not based on YouTube, what's important for this part of the presentation is that you kind of show the size of your business. If you have a published work, obviously it's the number of copies sold. If you have a video game, it's the number of downloads and how many microtransactions. If you have a Roblox activation, it's how many players are kind of coming in all the time. What is your, not only your visitation, but is your ranking. All those things for the first part of your pitch Bible in 2025 is the size of your business coming in. All right, now that you've stated your business, let's talk about the next big part of the Bible, which is really the format, the genre, and your ask. The format is actually the easiest one to talk about. It's often forgotten for some reason, but people have to state how many episodes we're talking about, what is the length of these episodes, and whether or not they are standalone or serial episodic. A little more breakdown on serial episodic versus non-serial episodic. Now, a lot of the classic shows that really work in cartoons that we've known tend to be standalone, and those really follow the format of the classic procedural. So whether that be police, hospital, legal, occupational, or family, those are the ones that really take no information to understand. If you actually see just a couch and dad's sitting there and the son walks in and the dad's at house school, guess what? You're in a family show. And if you're looking at a bunch of superheroes and they're flying into the air and they're talking about the bad guy that they got to take down, guess what? You're in an occupational, because the job of the superhero is to fight the bad guys. Or, hey, let's say that you're running down the hallway and someone's in a lab coat and they're worried about this next patient. That's a hospital show. You don't have to say much more about it. When I do consulting work, I actually tell people to really seriously consider some of these classic procedural formats because they make it easier for audiences to get into the fun part or the cool part or the more interesting part of your proposal. And from a writing perspective, they're a little easier to pull off than the flyer. So to remind, the flyer really is when you need to explain to your audience a certain set of happenings based on a certain set of characters that kind of makes sense so that we understand what the drama or comedy or plot line of your entire franchise is about. I will say that over the past decade or so, Japanese anime has really embraced the flyer format, and I think that's a big reason why a lot of these audiences really love to just absorb these dozens and hundreds of episodes of these popular formats because they really get emotionally invested in the story set up by these characters in this unique world that we just need to figure out what happens next because we're really invested in their emotional arc. And I think some of the biggest shows out there are flyers. They are also very hard to do well. They're extremely hard to execute. And a lot of times animation might not be the best place to actually experiment with a big flyer. So although flyers are cool, remember that a lot of those prove themselves in publishing before they actually move to TV and film. Okay, now we've talked a little bit about the format. We've talked a little bit about whether or not it is a serial episodic or standalone. Let's talk a little bit about the genre. I think it's really important to state right up front to your buyers the kind of genre that you're in. That helps them as a buyer really kind of quickly decide if it's right for them, even before hearing the pitch. So, if you're doing a comedy adventure, but your buyer is only doing curriculum-based shows, it's almost an instant no. Or if you're doing kind of a STEM, stream curriculum-based show, but you find out that your buyer really just wants social emotional programming or wants something that is, just fun and laughs, again, that's an instant no. Some of the genres that I like to remind people of, action versus adventure. I actually think that action is really where the good guys' job is to fight the bad guys, where adventure is really a set of protagonists who have to go on some kind of journey in order to reach some kind of goal, and somewhere along the way have to fight. But other genres, obviously, comedy, educational, social, emotional, stream, and STEM. Again, really those genres help predefine and pre-set up whether or not Some buyers will even take your pitch, or some buyers will tell you right away, don't go any further because we're not buying that right now. All right, now that you've landed your format and you've landed your genre, let's talk a little bit about what is your ask. I mean, really upfront in these 2025 pitch Bibles, I tell people, make sure you're clear about what you're looking for. Are you looking for a full commission, whereas someone will buy the entire rights of your project, fully pay for your entire production, and then distribute it on their platform? Are you looking for a co-finance or a co-production, where really you have part of the picture set up and you're looking for the remainder of it to be completed? Or you're looking for the first partner who doesn't have to risk everything, but has to put in a little bit of money and a little bit of guaranteed distribution so you can start doing the worldwide tour to try to add up those consortium of partners and buyers and distributors that create a co-production or a co-finance. Now, in this latter form of ask, you're asking a lot of partners to be semi-creatively involved, to really have an equity stake, to possibly take on some licensing business in order to add up the totality of your business. But then finally, you could just be looking for a straight acquisition. Maybe your show or your project is already fully financed and you're really just looking for the profit of someone who will pay for it upon completion. Now, acquisition is another way you can actually complete your project, just by kind of shopping around, adding up a bunch of acquisitions, and then, hey, there's the budget or a slight negative of your budget in order to get into production, and they'll allow other businesses to be your profit. But hey, listen, regardless of what you're doing here, whether it's a full commission, co-production, co-finance, acquisition, put the ask of your project really up front in your show Bible. Sorry, your pitch Bible. All right, with all that business stuff behind us, let's talk about the real creative part of the pitch Bible. And recently, I like to tell people that the best way I've seen to open this is actually the cold open. Now, why do I talk about the cold open, and what is a cold open? So a cold open really is just turning the page, and right there you've taken your viewers or your buyers into your world, into your story, and you're turning a few pages of your characters actually acting or performing or doing what they do in the show itself. What I like about cold open is it has to work to work. If you just look at a page and you see characters moving around and doing their thing and turn the page and see what they're doing next, people have to get it. And if they don't get it, it's not working. And that's a great way to discipline your project, to make it simple enough to really decide whether or not people are going to like this, because you sometimes only have that split moment in time to get audience's attention. And if you can prove it in a cold open, maybe you've got a great project. Okay, if you can pull off a cold open or you're past the cold open part, let's talk about the next most important thing in the pitch Bible, and that is going to be your logline. Your logline is really a single sentence description of your entire project in a way that is promotional, that is sharp, that is concise, that if I just had one sentence to tell people about your project, I could state the logline and they should kind of get it. Now, I have traditionally been a little freeform on loglines that I've worked on or consulted with people. I've just kind of intuitively felt if that sentence or that short little statement was enough to prove really what this project is about. But more recently, I've actually been following the traditional movie logline structure. And the movie logline structure includes the protagonist, the inciting incident, the protagonist goal, and the central conflict. Now, if you use those 4 points in a very disciplined manner, you end up kind of shaving out a lot of the unnecessary parts of your logline that are important for the show itself when you watch it, but not necessarily part of the pitch or the presentation or the initial tease on whether or not someone wants to learn more. So if you can make the traditional movie logline work, I think you're in much better shape. But if you can't, hey, there's no rule to say that you can't just make a cool sentence and have people go, whoa, that sounds fun. All right, the good news for the rest of the pitch Bible is that the characters and the setting and the episode synopsis part of the pitch Bible really hasn't changed that much. I'll refer back to my 2018 video because I think I really did break down how characters and settings and synopsis work in the pitch Bible format. I actually don't disagree with anything I said at that point, and I think it's worth mentioning now that you'll see in that video that there is an important distinction of whether or not the setting pages should come first or the character should come first. It really depends on what kind of show or project you're presenting. But really, that part's the same. So guess what? Classic storytelling is still important. You've got to have cool characters. They've got to be in a place we haven't been before or haven't been in a long time. And you've got to prove in springboards or an episode synopsis that this entire structure of what you built is fun when you actually turn on an episode. All right, the final thing I want to add for today's discussion on the Pitch Bible is somewhere towards the end of your presentation, you must list any partners or other financial collaborators you have on your project. So a good partners page is nice to show, one, that someone else is involved and liked what you're doing. Two, if they're important, accredited or equity sharing partner in your project. Or three, if they're actually a partner in the distribution side or in the licensing side, so that you can let the person in front of you know whether or not there are some lanes or some sections of your project that are not for sale because someone else has gotten on board. All right, that's all I got for you today. It is the 2025 Pitch Bible episode. I hope you got something out of that. You can kind of match this along with the 2018 video that I made to give you a full idea of what's involved in a Pitch Bible. Again, I'm looking forward to the next video that I'll be doing with the Essist platform. It'll be about what it takes to be a producer. The first episode will be here free with the rest under their paywall. I hope you watch all that too, and I will see you in the next one.